Good afternoon. This is Mary Amick here for EDU 503 with our Title IX compliance framework self-audit. Today I'm actually going to talk about the second of the three-prong test, the history and the continuing practice of the school district that I work in Lexington County School District 1. The history and continuing practice prong, part of that three-prong test, says the school must show the continuing practice in very recent offerings in the past and expanding in its women's sports offering current. So in our school district, when we first started, our school district had 4 high schools, 2 2A, 1A, and 1 3A, and 1 4A. We have since grown to 5 high schools that are both 2 3A and 2 5A and 1 4A. Within these schools, we have always had the traditional female and male sports such as basketball, football, cheerleading, volleyball, baseball, softball, soccer, boys and girls, since our school district opened. We have since added, in the last 12 years, we've added C-team baseball, C-team softball. We've added wrestling, JV, varsity, and B-team or C-team middle school. We have added C-team volleyball. We have added JV boys soccer for girls and JV boys and girls soccer, We have also added swimming at the 2 5A schools, but our 2 3A schools our 3A schools are allowed to participate with those since we do not have enough interest in them. So males and females may participate on those swimming teams. We've added competitive cheer at the middle school and high school levels. We have also added at some of our schools women's lacrosse at the 5A schools, something that we're actually looking at my home school. Gilbert Middle School is where I'm at, but Gilbert High School, our feeder high school, we're looking at adding lacrosse. We're doing actually an interest right now meeting with the girls, setting up an interest meeting with them, talking with them, looking for a possible coach if we have enough interest, and setting up workout times for them this year and this summer. We have added bowling at our 4A and 5A schools, where our smaller schools may join those teams as well, both male and female. We have added track and field to all of our schools, and as well as some have added middle school track specifically for both males and females. So we've done a lot of expansion here recently at our schools. The most recent, I would say, is the women's lacrosse at the 5A schools. Just today, actually, I got an email from a student here in the 8th grade at Gilbert Middle wanting to know about the potential for Gilbert High School ever getting a lacrosse team and a women's lacrosse team. And I told her that, that's actually something that our high school is looking into, doing interest meetings. I said I would suggest you go to those. Being that she is a middle schooler, she wouldn't be able to participate in the varsity level, but if we could get enough girls interested, she could possibly play on the JV team if we could have one. So all that to say, based off of those numbers and just those sporting events, I believe that Gilbert High School, where I'm working, is in Title IX compliance, as well as Lexington County School District 1. We've been doing a lot of Title IX digging deeper, as they've been calling it, in our district with the high school and middle school ADs. We have to keep spreadsheets of our women's sports to men's sports, as well as the ratio of women to men athletes within our buildings. We also keep spreadsheets and data on the expenditures and the receipts of money coming into those programs, because David Bennett is our athletic director for our district, and he and Jeff Salters, who is over us in our district office, have said that if the Title IX, if the federal government came after us under Title IX infractions, again, because they did get our school district for that a year ago, that we would be the building representative that would be asked to provide the documentation. So it's been expansive, it's been extensive, it's been a lot that we've had to learn and look into and really dig deeper with, but it's been very interesting to me to learn so much about it. I had no idea the realm of Title IX before this class, and really before we started digging deeper in our district. I really thought Title IX, and this is, I guess, just an ignorant way to look at it, but I believe Title IX to be fair and equitable sports for women. I never thought about it being fair and equitable finances for women, fair and equitable uniforms, equipment, transportation. I mean, it goes down to the very skinny of what is in your press box that is not in a baseball press box that's not in a softball press box. That was an argument that was had last year when we were found in breach of Title IX across the district. The boys' baseball fields, the varsity playing fields, were far nicer than our high school varsity softball playing fields, and $15,000 was allotted to each high school in our district to make sure that those fields were brought up to code. And I mean, the fields are beautiful now, but it even got as trivial, and I didn't realize this, it got as trivial as to say that within that Title IX, we had to remove a refrigerator that was donated to the baseball program in their press box, had to be removed because the girls' softball program did not have a refrigerator in their press box. And I personally, I was like, wow, that seems a bit much, a bit of a stretch. But I guess when we're talking Title IX and we're talking these infractions and we're talking what we're doing for one sport and one sex for another sport and another sex, we have to maintain that neutrality. We have to maintain that everyone is getting the equal opportunity. Yes, it is great that we offer the lacrosse meeting, but if the lacrosse doesn't make this year and we have boys lacrosse, then what are we going to do to make that possible for the girls? I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. You've got to think about a coach. Lacrosse is a sport that not many people know. I mean, I personally, being from the South, I don't know much about lacrosse at all. I've watched it. I've seen it played. I've had friends in college that played it as sport and as rec, but I've never truly participated. I know you catch the ball. I know you go down the court. To me, it's a combination of softball, baseball, soccer, and football and rugby. I mean, it's just a little wild. But what are we going to do as the athletic director to make sure and ensure that our female athletes have that same opportunity if that is something that they are vocalizing and they want, and they are at Gilbert High School. So it's just interesting to me to learn about all the different facets that go into and that are involved with the Title IX paperwork. I've really enjoyed reading the case studies more than I actually thought I would, because law was not something that's really ever really interested me or piqued my interest. I mean, I follow the law, but I never thought that I would enjoy learning about the law and learning what it means, what these words mean, and what these laws truly mean. Just for an example, we were in a meeting with ADs and talking about Title IX financial compliance at one of the 5A high schools. And it was just interesting to me that Coach Woolbright from Lexington High School, who's their AD, said there's no way they would ever be out of Title IX financial compliance as long as they have the same competitive cheer program that they have. And I was like, how is that possible? He said our cheerleading program spends over $60,000 a year. I was mind blown. I was like, wow. And I said, how do they even spend that much money? And he was talking about competition entry fees, choreographers, music, outfits, and just tumbling and all this stuff. And I was absolutely amazed. I was absolutely amazed at what all goes into that and how that school was totally, I was just shocked. I was completely shocked and just taken back, really, from what had been, what had been told. But it just goes to show, it just really goes to show that when we talk about Title IX, We can't just talk about practice facilities. We can't just talk about teams. We can't just talk about coaching. We can't just talk about the things that everybody wants to talk about. We can't talk about not having a softball team for a baseball team. We've got to talk about uniforms. You've got to talk about, has the football team gotten new uniforms every year and the volleyball program has not gotten them in 3 years? We've got to talk about, even though some of these things are being purchased with fundraiser money, something's got to be done. These girls have got to start fundraising, or vice versa. The boys have got to start fundraising, because it's got to be equitable down the middle, down everything. It can't just be, and we can't just be satisfied to say, oh, well, we've got that team. We've got a coach for that. We've got a team for that. We've got that. It can't just be that. It has to be that we're actually doing something about it. I think most of us would agree, as athletic directors, it is our job to get kids interested in sports. It is our job and our duty to have kids want to play sports for us and have students want to be there and doing things for our schools to make them better. I really think that we've got to make sure that we follow all those stipulations. It's a lot of verbiage. It's a lot of words. It's a lot of checks and crosses and X's and O's. It's a lot of things that we have to do that go into it. But we have to make sure that we're doing our part and not just trying to sweep it under the rug and say, yeah, we offered that. Nobody came out. If there's an interest there, if there's a peak there, we've got to do what we need to do to get that program in place. We've got to do what we need to do to get those uniforms for those kids, to get those bags, to get that practice facility up to code, to get the game facility up to code. We've got to do whatever we need to do in order to make sure that we are doing our part as the athletic director. We have to have our programs within compliance. I, as a teacher, was involved in a Title IX case in a classroom, which was very interesting to me that it was brought to this attention. It was weird, but I had to be subpoenaed and actually talk to the federal government via telephone conference with the principal and with our district attorney. And we were not found guilty of this at all, but it was a student blaming a teacher and a coach about infringing upon their Title IX, but come to find out, the student was moved to me, given to me, so I was the second party, but this was just something that was just so foreign to me. And then when our school district was found to be in violation of Title IX and the high schools were granted their money last year, it was just unbelievable what was going on. It was really surreal to think about, because most of the facilities that the girls were in, yeah, the boys, I'll give it to them. The boys' facilities were nicer, yes. There's no doubt in that. They were nicer. But also, there's a lot to be said of that. The boys were fundraising a lot more money than the girls were. And so that's something, too, that I think gives Title IX kind of a bad rap. When we start breaking it down to X's and O's, and people want to start throwing around, well, they got this, they got that, but nobody's willing to put in the effort and the time, etc., that is needed when the time comes for that. But everybody seems to have their hand out when they're handing things out. So that, to me, is the slippery slope of Title IX, is that I don't want women to get a bad rap in the fact that we're seeking something for nothing, when I do believe that we deserve equitable and fair treatment, 100%. I am a woman in an athletic director position currently as a middle school AD and hopefully a high school, college AD one day. But I'm in a position where this is a male